Jazz clubs around the world are sitting empty, but jazz musicians will always have great music and stories to share. And since jazz fans aren't able to get out to hear great music, we will deliver jazz to you at home. Welcome to Jazz Home Delivery with Tim Tamashiro. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Jazz Home Delivery. I'm Tim Tamashiro, your host. And boy, it's really exciting to be here with you today. We're celebrating a couple of things right off the bat here. This is all part of the TD JazzYYC International Jazz Days virtual festival. It's happening over 28 days throughout the month. We're really excited to be a part of that. And today is also, just happens to be Music Monday here in Canada. Music Monday is an initiative that brings together literally hundreds of thousands of kids and youth and teachers and parents and community members all getting together to celebrate music this Monday. There's virtual events happening on their website, Music Monday. If you want to learn more about Music Monday, you can look up their hashtag on Twitter. It's hashtag Together in Harmony Music Monday. That's always a thrill. I'll tell you what else is a thrill is that I'm joined today by a couple of scallywags who grew up together, literally grew up in music and in life together, still best friends. I'm being joined today by Jim Johnston and Chris Jennings. They're from Paris, France. Hi, fellas.
Howdy.
Hello.
Howdy, hello. Howdy, hello. Chris just taught us a phrase that works virtually in 9 out of 10 situations if you're in France. And the what is that phrase again, Chris?
It's bah oui.
Bah oui. So, would you like to play bass today, Chris?
Bah oui.
Yeah. Jim, would you like to play drums today?
Bowie.
Bowie. We're fulfilling all sorts of great little initiatives today. You two clowns grew up together here in Calgary. What was that like?
It was a great experience. We had some pretty cool teachers, and we got to do a lot of
Really?
playing. Yeah.
A lot of playing music together. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, bear with me. I have a challenge going here with my setup. Oh, there we are. We're back. So is that how you met? Was in music class, Chris?
Sorry?
Is that how you met? Was together in music class?
Well, we grew up in going through junior high school and high school together, and then eventually playing around town and just learning to play standards and learning to play jazz and stuff together. It was great.
Together with Chris Davis on piano, who now lives in New York City.
Yeah. We were shedding our standards in Jim's basement back in the days when we were still junior high students. It was fun.
And did you play around town? Like, did you do little gigs, or was this kind of just a learning project for you three?
We were in a combo at Mount Royal College run by Gary DeBoek, well-known drummer. And he was teaching us the ropes, basically. I mean, we went to junior high school at Kevin Wilms' school of Robert Warren, and that's kind of where things really got started.
Yeah.
And then we all, of course, studied with private teachers and things. And in Calgary, I studied with Dave Watts and John Hyde. So I owe them also a thank you for putting me in the right direction. We had great times.
I'll bet. I just saw John a couple of months ago in November, actually, out on Vancouver Island, and he's doing very, very well.
Awesome.
Nice. Yeah, we did. We used to play lots, and also Dale James is another sort of teacher and mentor of mine in Calgary.
Yeah.
Sure.
We spent hours with all these people, and it was really, I'm pretty thankful to have those experiences, even today. I can't imagine not being put in the right direction that way.
Jim, Chris told me about a time where you guys used to go out to a farm and you had an old van. I think it was Chris, it was your family van, wasn't it, Chris?
Yeah.
My mom and dad's van, and we'd back it up to the barn, and we put it up. I only played electric bass at the time, and we'd put the Chili Peppers record on and played as loud as the van could play it. And Jim had his drums set up in the barn, and I had a really bad practice amp in my electric bass. We'd scare the horses.
So you'd crank up the Chili Peppers, and Jim would play drums, and you'd play bass, and that was the band.
Yeah. I can't imagine what it sounded like.
Probably something like a barn dance. Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. Oh, look at that. Look at that. They both got cowboy hats. Now I have to go and get myself a cowboy hat. At some point in time, I will grab a cowboy hat, you guys.
Excellent.
I'm from
I promise. I love it. I wish we could have a picture. Chris said that he had a picture, but he couldn't dig it up. A picture of you two at the farm with the van. I think that would have been rocking.
Yeah, we'll find it somewhere.
I'll dig it out. I know it's there.
Yeah, it's around here someplace. Well, Jim, if it's all right with you, I'm going to go and talk to your friend Chris because he's in Paris, France, and goodness knows it's 10 o'clock at night. The guy probably wants to go to bed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, bear with me. Here we got Chris Jennings and myself here on Chris. It's so nice to talk to you. We had a lovely chat yesterday, and boy, you've sure had an amazing adventure over your musical life and life in general.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here. It's not very often I get to come back and share with what I'm doing in Calgary, my hometown and stuff. So I'm really happy about it.
Take me back. You told me a lovely story when you were a teenager and you went and saw a concert here someplace in Calgary. It was a jazz concert of some sort. Who did you go see that day?
I went to go see he wasn't my idol at the time because I'd never heard of him, but after the concert, he was my idol. His name is Nguyen Le. Some people pronounce it Nguyen. Nguyen Le, a Vietnamese guitarist, quite well known. And I heard him in the Calgary Jazz Festival with Danny Gottlieb, Pat Metheny's drummer, and a trio with a great German bass player named Dieter Ilg. And this concert really kind of hit me hard. And I was with a well-known drummer from Calgary, also another buddy, Mark Adam, and we both recorded the disc. And I learned everything off of it. And then I bought all Nguyen's CDs, went to Toronto, and I was listening to his albums, showing people his albums. And it kind of ties like my whole journey together because basically, to make the long story short, 17 years later, I ended up being on stage in one of Nguyen's bands with Danny Gottlieb on my left, Nguyen on my right, and a well-known Italian pianist named Rita Marcatulli, who played with Dewey Redman. And at that point, I kind of knew, like, okay, I'm supposed to be in Paris, and this is the right direction. Because as always, when you change cities and stuff, I started from scratch in Paris, and there were ups and downs, and I didn't really know if I was supposed to be in Paris because I'm not really part of the Paris jazz scene. I mean, we know each other, but I'm traveling quite a lot abroad, and I was never sure if I should stay in Paris. But after that tour, I was like, okay, this is supposed to happen because, I mean, to see Nguyen when I was 15 or 16, not knowing where I'd end up or what I'd be doing was pretty nice. I was pretty thrilled the first time he ever called me on the phone and basically asked me to be in one of his bands and do a tour, started in Hong Kong. So it was
wow.
Exciting. Yeah.
That when those types of experiences happen, is it a surreal moment where you just kind of go, "Wow, this just happened"?
The first time I actually I went to go hear him in concert lots, but I was too intimidated to go talk to him. I didn't know he lived in Paris. And then one day I was at a concert in Paris, and he just came down with his wife. And then afterward came and introduced himself, and I was just like, "Wow, Nguyen just came down and heard me play." And it was about 6 months later, he called. And long story short, he called on my teaching day and said, "Can you come to the house and do a session and have dinner?" And my teaching is my visa in France at the time. And I was like, "What do I do?" And this guy said, "No, I can't do it. I'll lose my teaching gig. And if I lose that, I can't stay in France." He said, "Oh, I'll call you another time." And I thought I made the worst decision of my life. My idol calls, I invites me to his house, and I said, "No."
Down.
Basically, long story short, 6 months later, he called me back. He said, "Look, we can't get together. I'm always on tour. I'm starting this band, and we need a bass player. Or do you want to be in it?" And then they kind of got me subbing in all these different bands, and a lot of other stuff kind of opened up thanks to him.
He was really an impetus to introducing you to a lot of the musicians that you play with now, and that kind of branched out in all sorts of directions. Describe the type of music that you're doing now, partially because of your friend Nguyen.
Well, I guess the main kind of niche that I ended up being in is kind of playing a mix of world music and jazz, and I found myself being hired as a jazz bass player in these sort of world music situations where I'm either playing double bass in a music where there's no double bass, like with this Algerian traditional shabby orchestra called El Gusto, or I'm playing in one of Nguyen's bands where it's these crazy African or Caribbean bass players who are playing with like Joe Zawano and stuff. And I have absolutely nothing to say on the electric bass compared to what they're doing. So I have to come up with something different on the double bass, which changes the sound because I can't play the virtuosic stuff they're playing on electric bass. So it was a really nice challenge. And then I
Yeah.
just got sort of hired in different things, and I love different cultures. And that's really become an important part of who I am kind of musically and probably even as a person a bit.
I'll bet. Now, you explained to me yesterday that some of the music that you are playing now doesn't have bass as part of it of the music traditionally, but you've been invited in to provide bass.
Yeah, this group El Gusto, it's really touched me because it's to put it kind of simply, it's the Buena Vista Social Club of Algeria with a bunch of old Algerian men playing their traditional folkloric music. And when they made this big orchestra, which normally it's a smaller format, they basically started to make it so that they realized they needed some lower frequencies, and there's no bass in the music, and it doesn't need it. The traditional music, it's for marriages, and it's about 8 to 10 people or social gatherings and stuff. And so they asked me to be in the music, and I had to basically figure out what to play. And to do that, I had to learn the music and absorb it as best I could to try to figure out what I can play. And it was a really challenge. And the thing I like about these projects is that I learn a lot, and it really, really changes me musically doing projects like this.
I'll bet. I'll bet. It's a fascinating story, and I love how you've had to find your own way, and obviously it's delicious because they keep on inviting you back.
Yeah, I mean this project with Augusto has lasted almost 15 years, which is hard to believe.
Wow.
And I also play with some other world music musicians, Oud and singer named Daffer Youssef, which has really changed everything for me and opened a lot of doors. And I actually met him at Nguyen's house at dinner, which is kind of great. And it kind of opened up that way, just having dinner with the guy. And then I became in his band, and things really took off with this band. We did a lot of nice stuff, and it was amazing to be a part of it. And
The 6 degrees of Nguyen Lake.
yeah. He sings kind of in between Quranic and opera kind of style, and he's an oud player, traditional oud player, but he improvises and stuff. And so this band was really a mix because it was with a piano player named Tigran Hamassian and Mark Juliana, a New York drummer, and each of us coming from different backgrounds. People always say they'd never ever imagined us four being in a band together, but it was something that like the right moment at the right time, and it really clicked.
Well, I checked out the video that you sent to me, and it was like it blew my mind. It's such a unique take on music, and it was just amazing. Speaking of amazing, here's my big segue. Speaking of amazing, you're an amazing bass player. You're an incredible bass player, and you have a song that you can play for us. I'm sure that the audience would really like to see this. Is hear you play? Would you be kind enough to play this song, Casper Radio? Can you tell us a little bit about it before you jump in?
Yeah, it's a nice story, actually. True story, as cliche as it sounds. I was with El Gusto in Algeria on tour, and they were driving us, me and a couple people, to the airport to go back. And on a side note, it was the only time ever I got a police escort to the airport because we were late, and we actually had a police escort, sirens and everything to get us through the traffic to get to the airport.
Wow.
And while we were in the taxi, there was a little melody on the radio, and it was beautifully sung. It was just 3 notes. And I was like, well, I have to write a tune to that. It sounds so cliche, but it was so true. And it was 3 notes, so it was easy to remember. And I just wanted to write a song to kind of dedicate to these men because I've spent so many hours with them and their music. And it really has like found a place in sort of my musical soul. And a lot of them are from the Caspa. And so this one is called Caspa Radio.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you Chris Jennings, part of the TV JazzYYC International Jazz Days Virtual Festival. He's playing Casper Radio. You're in for a real treat. Here he is, Chris Jennings.
Thanks.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Jennings with Casper Radio, a lovely song composed under police escort.
Good way of putting it.
You're such a wonderful player, Chris. I remember you playing bass here in Calgary, and what a journey you've had, and just the flavors that you brought to the bass is just is delightful. You described your skills that you've learned over the years as your tool belt. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's Nguyen Lei who actually, he's kind of like a mentor for me, and he spoke about it. To tell a little bit about the story before, which we didn't talk about, was with Daffer. We used to be doing concerts, and one time we finished the gig, and we were about to do an encore, and he looked at me and said, go do an intro. And I said, I thought he was joking. And he was like, no, I'm serious. Go do an intro. So I had to go back out on stage with the whole crowd. It was a big, big hall. Everyone clapping and standing up and just me coming out. And I didn't really know what was going on. And okay, I sat down. I said, okay, I have to do an intro to this tune. Anyway, I did my intro. It wasn't the best thing I did. I mean, it was okay, but I wasn't really happy with what I played. And whatever, the band came out when it was time and everything went fine. The next day of the tour, we get to the end of the concert. You can imagine that night and the day in the hotel, I was shedding lots of stuff for intros to the last tune. And of course, we get to the end of the night. We get off stage. Everyone's psyched. Yeah, we go play another tune. He says, okay, let's go. And off we went. And there was no intro the next night. I was like, oh. And then so the next night, of course, I thought, okay, well, next night there'll probably be, so I'll keep working on it. I started really getting some nice stuff together for the intro. not the next night either, not the fourth night either. I was like, wow, it must have been a really bad intro. And anyway, long story short, about 5 concerts later, he looked at me and said, go do your intro again. And that was the moment where I let down the guard that I'd prepared something and I just had to go there and play. But the fact that in my head I was ready to go play and I knew what I was going to do, when I went out there, the audience knew right away to sit down. It was like a kind of a mystical experience because since I was sure about what I was doing, the audience could feel that too. And then I told Dapper about this story. I was like frustrated, and he was or Nguyen, I told this about him. And he said, but like what we do, our job was we have a tool belt. And of course we work on songs and polish them, but there's no point in perfecting a song in our job because we're improvisers. And we need to have a tool belt and all these tools. And what we do is we sharpen them so that whatever kind of comes in front of us at the last minute or whenever, we can pull out what we need to do and make the best of the moment and get out what we need to get out. And I really like that concept a lot.
It's a brilliant concept, and I can tell you've been sharpening and sharpening and sharpening. You keep your tools well honed, my friend.
I'm going to stop.
Yeah, never stop. That's for sure. Now, you had spent some time in Sweden, is that correct?
Yeah, it's a country I really like, and I had a lot of occasions to play with Swedish musicians there. I've been going back and forth. I really love the culture.
And while you were there, there was some sort of an experience that you had when you were you decided you wanted to create some sort of a Swedish song. Tell me about that.
As always, when I'm traveling, I really like to explore the different cultures. And some friends played me some Swedish folk music, and I really fell in love with this, and especially the folk music from the north. You can kind of say the more north you go in Scandinavian folk music, the more sort of diatonic it is, and modal it gets. And I really love this stuff. And so when I discover different cultures, I always try kind of write something in that vein as an exercise, and also just a way of kind of absorbing as much as I can in the culture. So I tried to write my own sort of version of a Swedish tune, and I would kind of play it and then got it writing, and then I go over to some of my friends and I'd ask them, I'd tell them, okay, does this sound Swedish at all? And they'd be like, well, this part, yeah, we totally do this in Sweden, and like this part, we don't do that. And I was like, okay, well, then I'll go work on that part a little bit and polish it a bit, change it up around. And I kept doing this until I kind of got it so that like, yeah, it could kind of pass as a Swedish folk tune, And that was kind of, I can put it in the envelope now and send it away, and this is what it's going to be. Not to say it's a folk tune, but it's my interpretation of if I could. This is
your interpretation, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, there you go. Can you play this song? It's called Väntan, right?
Sure. It's called Väntan, which means waiting in Swedish.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Here's Chris Jennings, ladies and gentlemen. Again, part of the JazzYYC International Jazz Days, sponsored by TD. It's a virtual festival. Chris is in Paris, France, with his beautiful bass. Take it away, my friend. There you go. There you go. You've surprised us there with a little surprise ending.
Break the tension.
It's a lovely, lovely tune, and it's it's one of those things where you're just proof positive that by traveling and going around the world and experiencing new things, it opens up new possibilities.
Yeah, and we're lucky today that we can do this. I think that's one of the, as much as I say I was born too late to see some really famous jazz musicians I would have loved to see live. We're in an era where we can touch and reach cultures easily, where if it was 50, 67, 50 years ago, it'd be much harder.
That's right. Oh, goodness knows. We're beneficiaries of your experience and your travels and your life and your learning. So it's been a real treat, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your performances and for the chat. I'm going to go over and talk with your friend Jim for a little while. Is that okay?
I think that's a good idea.
It is a good idea. He's a very handsome dude.
All right, one more thing before. Really?
Really? And many more. Holy cow, it's Jim Johnston's birthday and his best friend played for him on the bass. I love that.
Amazing.
Thanks, Chris. I'm going to go over and talk to Jim here for a little bit.
Thank you.
Jim, how are you, dude?
I'm great. This is the best birthday ever.
I didn't know it was your birthday, and you look really young for a 75-year-old man.
Well, you know, it's all the meat I eat.
It's all the meat you eat.
Yeah, it's the Alberta beef. It's a tonic of sorts.
You are an Alberta beef. As you can tell, Jim and Chris and I we kibitz and we joke with each other because we're very familiar with each other. We certainly enjoy each other's company. And there's one thing that always happens when I'm with Jim is there's always lots of laughter. I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, Jim, you are a proprietor and an incredible bass drum guy. And let me back that up.
No, that's perfect.
You are the proprietor of the Cornerstone Cafe.
Yeah.
Music Cafe, in fact, which is a very unique combination of a cafe, but it's also a music studio where you teach lessons.
Yeah, we do all sorts of everything there.
It's a beautiful combination.
Yeah, we have some live music occasionally too. Obviously not right now, but that's what we do. That's our modus operandi. We're trying to create culture and community with food and music.
It's a beautiful combination because it combines both your passion for teaching and for music together with your wife's passion of food.
Yes, my wife's passion for food and managing all things and keeping things in order. It's a perfect extension of both of us and what we are to one another. So that was our original intention, and I think we're doing a pretty good job with it.
I think you're doing an amazing job with that. And how long has it been going for?
We are in our 8th year. I don't know if you can count this year, but but we're there. We've survived this long. We survived the recession, and now we're going to survive this too and come back really strong. It's going to be good.
Yes, you are going to survive that. It's absolutely necessary because goodness knows these are times that have challenged everybody, and especially when you're a restaurant owner. And you can't shift food online unless you're doing delivery or pickup.
It's a small place, as you know, Tim, and we just have a certain number of people we got to get in the door for it to make sense for us to do food, right? So all the music is maintained. We moved all of our lessons online and keep the teachers employed and going, but we've had to give it a pretty hard pause for the food and beverage. So
yeah, for sure. How have the students adapted to online teaching as opposed to in person?
It's been a pretty cool process. I was I was doing a couple lessons via Skype over the last couple of years. I have a student in Houston, and I have a student down in California too. And so I was kind of more used to it, and I was a little prepared. I was kind of the conduit for a lot of the teachers to figure out what to do and how to do it. If you want, but the students, they've all really adapted really well. We've lost a number, just layoffs and everything, but all the students are really, they have less to do these days, so they're really focused on the lesson and the music, and it's not just a music lesson anymore. It's as much a social contact and also just a way of like coping with what's going on right now too. So it's been an interesting process.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can imagine that parents would be really interested in having their children do something more constructive outside of school, and that might be rewarding for them.
Yeah. It's pretty cool to watch and to have that contact on a weekly basis with a bunch of kids and watch them develop and grow.
Yeah, for sure. So now, what have you been doing with your time since you made the transition from jobbing musician to stay-at-home dad? I mean, you're the primary caregiver lots of the times for your son, and now you guys get to spend more time at home. Are you allowed to just play your drums 24 hours a day?
No, there's lots of stuff to do. Homeschooling, as I'm sure Chris can tell you with his two kids, is really fun. It's been a challenge with all three of us at home all the time, but I'm not playing and practicing as much as I would like, but it's one of those things where I'm just trying to really focus in on how to get the most of this time with my wife and my son. That's what's really important to me right now. So.
Yeah, it is nice to have that undivided family time. I mean, if there is a gift that COVID has brought to many families around the world, is that together time, I guess. I don't know if we can look for gifts, but
I think you have to kind of. I think you've got to look for some sort of sense of gratitude and meaning and purpose in what you're doing and the circumstances you're in. It's the most time we've had to spend since Edwin was born. So it's really cool. We're out in Fish Creek Park every day almost, and we're making the most of it for sure.
Yeah, that's great. You make the most of a lot of things in your life, and one of those factors is the whole meditation idea, right?
Yeah. That's kind of something I was introduced to in my 20s, and it went away for a bit, and then it's kind of come back in the last 3 or 4 years for me really strongly. Mindfulness is all the rage, so it's kind of timely for me in a lot of ways, dealing with being an entrepreneur and a musician and being a dad, and it's been a really cool a tool in my tool belt, if I can steal Chris's analogy.
Of course you can steal it.
I steal everything from Chris. It's one of those things that has really helped me adapt and change and grow through all of life, all of what's going on right now with everybody.
Yeah. So the meditation is the tool that you can utilize every day, and it helps you not only be more mindful in everyday life, but it also would help you musically, I assume.
Yeah, there's a lot of correlates, or there's a lot of similarities between the way you meditate and the way you play music or the way you practice music. This is something I've really tried to start to incorporate in my teaching too. Just the way and the how of teaching and learning, as opposed to the what. It's kind of I've always had a sense of what you learn and being kind of never ending and almost overwhelming in some ways. It's awesome to hear somebody like Chris, who's been exposed to all these things and absorbs these things in such a deep, meaningful way. And I feel like meditation has brought a lot of that kind of depth to the way I teach and to the way I play these days.
gives you a clearer focus.
Yeah, it really helps you concentrate. One of the simplest things that you do when you're meditating is learning how to concentrate, and the way you concentrate is really explicit. The instructions when you learn how to meditate is really helpful, and they directly apply to anything you play. Just noticing or being able to notice when you're distracted versus when you're actually focused on something. Knowing the difference between those things. That's something I don't think I ever was really specifically taught when I was a younger musician. And it's something that I think it should be almost the most important thing that we're passing on to young musicians and students.
This is kind of a random question, but you being a drummer and placing almost like a meditative focus on your drumming while you're playing the drums, how does the vibration of it, do you think that kind of helps you pay attention better? Or
there's definitely times when physically you can feel the sound of something.
That's what I was getting at.
Sound waves definitely have an effect on you. Not to get all woo-woo, but it's one of those things that when you're kind of in the flow state of playing, different parts of what you're playing come out at you, and you can focus on those things, right? So the sound vibrations or the sound waves hitting your body or different parts of your body can definitely be like an object of meditation, for sure.
Wow. So, Jim, you've been kind enough to prepare a 17-minute long drum solo for us.
Yes.
And you'd like to play that now.
This is a song called Inagata de Vida.
Inagata de Vida, yeah, I've heard of it.
Here we go.
No. we had people go, oh, how long of a drum solo?
And people are tuning out right now. They're like, ah!
No. Just so you know, no. He's prepared something delicious for us, and what is it that you've prepared for us?
You know what? I'm just going to improvise a little bit with a loop. I'm not even going to tell you what the loop is.
Okay.
You guys just listen and see what you can find in it. How's that sound?
I love the way you work. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Johnston is appearing on behalf of the TD JazzYYC International Jazz Days, part of the virtual jazz festival that's happening over the next 28 days. I'm so excited to have my friend Jim here and he's gone, here he goes with that, I think 27-minute long drum solo. Here's Jim Johnston. Woo, Jim Johnston. I'm giving you the applause button right now. You're getting the applause button. That's good.
I love it.
That is a good thing. That is a good thing.
Should I do this?
What was the? Yes, please do. What is the loop? I didn't catch it.
It's a rhythm. It's a 3/4 rhythm that is looped with a jazz swing pattern that I really like. There's a pretty cool set of loops called Drum Wizard that I enjoy a lot. Or Drum Genius, sorry.
Drum Genius.
Yeah. So it's a whole bunch of different loops. Some of them are pretty straightforward, and some of them are pretty layered, and it's fun to play around with and just improvise around. So
super cool. And your meditation helps.
It helps me focus on what I got to do and get it done. Yeah, for sure.
Get her done. Yeah. And I can't stress it enough. I'm a big fan of meditation, as you know. We swap meditation notes on a very regular basis, which is lovely. And thank you for doing that. Meditation also helps, just in case you're wondering, helps you be a better father as well. So
absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's actually one of the reasons I sought it out. Was really in the last 3 or 4 years. I just want to be more present for my kid, not be so distracted by everything else that's going on in life. So. Yeah,
that's for sure.
Nice to have it.
Your buddy Chris Jennings is a father as well, and he's sitting there in Paris, France, listening to you play drums. This has been a real treat talking to you, gentlemen, as you grew up together, and you went to high school together, and you played in bands together, and now you're on Jazz Home Delivery together.
And I ain't finished yet.
Ah oui.
Da oui. It's incredible. Chris, what a treat it has been to have you here back in Calgary, literally, back here in Canada, virtue of the internet.
Thanks to Cody Hutchinson for organizing all that, contacting me and setting it up. I'm super happy we could do this.
I'm very happy to have you here as well. Jim, it's been too long since I've seen you even. I don't think I've seen you since a wedding last summer or something along those lines, I feel.
Sheldon Zandbor's wedding. That was a while ago.
Yeah, it has been too long, but I always enjoy spending time with you, and I look forward to the day when we can spend time together again very, very soon.
Hugs are coming. Yes,
hugs are coming. I promise. Give us a wave, gentlemen. Jazz is delicious, especially when it's served at home. I'm Tim Tamashiro. I've been joined by Chris Jennings and Jim Johnston. And that does it for our Jazz Home Delivery today, brought to you by the JazzYYC TD International Jazz Days Virtual Festival. Lots more days coming up with Jazz Home Delivery as well. We have a few sponsors to thank, and I'd like to thank them now. See you tomorrow.
Thanks,
JazzYYC would like to thank the following sponsors for their generous support that has helped bring this virtual jazz festival to you. TD, Jazz Home Delivery, the City of Calgary, Alberta Foundation for the Arts, the Government of Canada, Calgary Arts Development, Inglewood BIA, CKUA Radio, Calgary Public Library, CADME, the Coalition for Music Education, Music Monday, Studio Bell, home of the National Music Center, Decidedly Jazz Danceworks, and the Music Mile. Thank you. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, please subscribe to this page, and if you want to receive more information about this or any of JazzYYC's other upcoming programming, please visit jazzyyc.com and become a member.